Welcome to Death on Clare Island, Chapter 26B. Upon arrival, the usual jumble of bodies and their belongings progressed from the boat to the concrete dock. I waited for Nolan, never letting my eyes stray from his movements. Imagine my surprise when I then noticed Richard O'Malley disembarking with everyone else. I hadn't seen him on the boat and might have missed him entirely, but he paused for a moment, slinging his bulging army knapsack over his right shoulder, and this single action caught my eye. I waved to get his attention, but after nodding at me, he purposely kept his eyes focused on the ground and strode out of the area. As the crowd on the dock thinned, I realized Peter wasn't there to meet me. Mist hung in the air like a gauzy veil, and I worried lest Nolan disappear as unexpectedly as he had appeared. But he didn't try to avoid me this time. Instead, he marched directly to me. "Can I help you with anything, Miss O'Brien?" "You can tell me what you're doing here," I replied. "Probably heading to the fires of hell." His ragged breathing interrupted the flow of his words. Up close, the black rings under his eyes looked like a grotesque application of eyeliner. Shifting his weight from leg to leg, he continued, "Let's get off this cold concrete. I've got a car here. I can give you a lift to wherever you're going." He laughed, as if he had insights to a private joke. I quickly assessed my situation. I was by myself with the ground fog rising and a long walk to the lighthouse ahead of me. I accepted, thinking it was better to keep him where I could see him. Besides, Peter would be at the lighthouse, so I wouldn't be alone with Nolan at the top of the mountain. He scooped up my bag and we crossed the dock and beach area, then into the parking lot where we halted at an older model Volkswagen Beetle with the steering wheel on the left side. Before I could ask the question, he said, "I bought it from an American artist who used to live in the lighthouse. I've never taken it off the island. It's handy transportation whenever I'm here." "Are you here that often?" I asked, easing myself into the passenger seat. "Often enough." "What are you doing here now?" "I need to get away for a few days, as I told you before. This is a good place to do that as any other. Better even because of the solitude." He started the engine and backed out of the parking lot. "Where are you going?" he asked. "I'm on my way to the lighthouse cottages. Do you know where they are?" "I do," he said, and steered the car in their general direction. "Do you mind my asking why you're going there?" "I'm spending the weekend with a friend of mine." "The American? The one who's got the antiques business?" His voice rose an octave in his surprise. "Yes, what about it?" "Nothing," he replied. I could sense his usual brusque tone in his reply. "It's only that I've never heard of him being friendly with anyone. He has a reputation for being reclusive, lives behind gates and walls." I nodded, but didn't really want to debate the point with him. "What about you? Where are you staying?" With the clues that Matthew's painting had provided about the island, I wanted to know if Nolan lived near the island's center line. "Up the hill here a bit. My family owns a small cottage there. We use it for weekend getaways." "Were you on the island that weekend?" I asked. He glowered at me and shrugged his shoulders as if he didn't know what my question meant. "You know," I continued, "the weekend that Matthew's body was found." I watched his face carefully. He kept his head turned toward the road, shifting his body so that he was sitting up higher. His hands tensed on the wheel, turning his knuckles white. "Told you before I had nothing to do with Matthew's death. I really don't want to get into discussing it again." We rode in silence for a short time after that. Then he pointed and said, "Okay, there's the lighthouse. I'll drop you at the gate." A moment later he did so, adding, "Enjoy whatever time you have here, Miss O'Brien." I got out, retrieved my bag from the back seat, and thanked him. Then I stood there watching the taillights of his car fade away below me. I gulped air to steady my nerves. Being confined in the car with him for those few moments, I'd seen his personality swing from desperation to cool rage. Was his anger about Sharon's death, or was it because I'd shown up on the island? Maybe both, or perhaps something else altogether. The air that touched my skin had become colder and damper. Twilight had descended into darkness. I turned and continued on to the gate, only to find it locked. There weren't any lights on in the cottage. Funny, I'd expected Peter to be here to meet me. I deposited my bag there and climbed up the hill even further to the edge of the cliff. Up here, the wind whipped my hair into a froth. An inky darkness absorbed any light that might have provided reflection, and as white-capped waves crashed onto the rocks below me, the ocean stretched infinitely. I struggled with the awe of standing at the last point of land overlooking the Atlantic Ocean. There was real terror in knowing that the slightest wrong movement would send me tumbling over the edge, plummeting about 400 feet to my death with the sound of the gulls cawing in my ears. I imagined Grace O'Malley standing here and understood the power she must have sensed with the world at her feet. I was completely alone on this wild outcrop, as she may have been many times. I swayed, suddenly dizzy with my imagination and the height, as I felt drawn to the magnetic pull of the ocean's waves. "Hello, who's that?" The words came out of the mist almost at my back. I jumped, losing my balance, and fell to my knees. I grabbed the ground around me to steady myself and keep from rolling forward. My body shook uncontrollably with the realization that my fear had almost become a reality. "Star, is that you?" Peter's voice sounded above me, and I felt a firm hand pull me to my feet. "Are you all right? You could have been killed." He took my hand and began leading me toward the cottage. "You gave me such a fright, your voice." I didn't finish because he hushed my words by covering my mouth with his. I responded with equal fervor, a hot twinge of longing circulating through every part of my body. When we finished, he said, "Come inside. I've been waiting for you."